Breaks with Mike Sway.
It's a little bit of a different podcast for you this week. It's all about, we just have a chat to Martin from Boomtown, who is the guy behind all the stories, all the acts, all the artists, all the interactive aspects of Boomtown, which I just found absolutely fascinating when I went this year. Really looking forward to going this year, and I'm really looking forward to kind of seeing what Martin has got up to. Anyway, here we go. Martin from Boomtown. I hope you enjoy. Let's kick this off. This is Bass and Breaks. I have Martin on the phone from Boomtown. Martin, how are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you doing?
Yes, not too bad. Martin, can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Boomtown, please?
Yeah, sure. So I am the theatrical director for Boomtown. So myself, alongside quite a big team, and with Doug Francisco, write the narrative. We have a narrative that rolls out year on year, and we go into chapter 10 this year. And then from there, I then bring that narrative and that world to life across site. So I will help develop each of our 9 theatrical districts. And then I create what I call the Immersive Maze, which is a site-wide game, which our audience can come and play out for the entirety of the festival, where they actually become characters and put themselves within the storyline.
I attended Boomtown for the first time last year, and I was absolutely fascinated by the storyline, the arc, basically just the amount of attention to detail that goes into all this. Can you tell us a little bit of the story so far? Obviously, not leading into what's about to come, but what has been what's the story so far?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's where to start, really. Like I said, this is chapter 10, so we've been rolling out a 10-year narrative. So that's been quite detailed along the way. But along the way, we started our sort of humble beginnings when the festival just started, as an intrepid explorer, Nicholas Boom, kind of found the land that the festival's built on, and then sort of built a small community from there. And the travelling fair came and visited, and that's how the festival each year kind of developed and grew. But then over time, as the city became more popular and got bigger and bigger, things became more and more corrupt. In chapter 5, we held elections, and a new mayor of the whole district was voted in for. And then over time, that mayor was slowly corrupted by kind of forces behind the scenes. She then slowly got turned into a dictator. And then Boomtown kind of ran for a couple of years under the heavy oppression of central administration and a regime that was in place. And then by chapter 8, there was this masked revolution that appeared and sort of challenged the authorities and the status quo. And then we had a strong year of uprising and revolution in Boomtown, which took down this oppressive regime. And then last year, from the sort of the ashes of what was left from that revolution against regime storyline, this benevolent or seemingly benevolent corporation started to grow out of the ashes and kind of take control and push everybody into a more sort of capitalist system. And they built this giant communications tower down in downtown, promising to bring Boomtown into the digital era. And so last year we really sort of played on the themes about how the mass media kind of manipulate the masses. And then we started to unveil how this corporation, where there was a little bit, had sort of a much big murkier past and much more control than what most people would probably like.
This is your 10th year, and am I right in thinking that this is going to be the end of this part of the story?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for the 10th year, we want to kind of tie a neat little loop in what I would call the Nicholas Boom Chronicles. So that original character kind of mysteriously disappeared from chapter 3.
Okay.
And that rumour he is back into the city and has returned as a very old man. And really, and we will play out what that all means within our storyline. We've already we sent out a trailer in February, our main festival trailer, which this year for the first time was just purely storyline, which just shows sort of how far all of this has come. But in that story, we see that the CEO of this corporation catches glimpses on in his tower, on his sort of CCTV cameras, that Nicholas Boom is back in town, and we see that he's actually physically very scared of that fact. And then we see that through that fear, he and his security decide to bring online a new avatar and computer system called Amy, which stands for Advanced Machine Intelligence. That's the sort of the big thing this year that we'll be pushing, this launch of this new Advanced Machine Intelligence system, which will appear on everybody's on all digital platforms, your phone and your watch, on your laptop. And the idea is that if all of our citizens just feed Amy their data, she'll know everything, and she'll be able to revolutionize everyone's lives. And she will know what you want even before you do. Ask her a question and she'll be able to answer. And that's kind of the premise for our finale show on Sunday. Is it's going to be the big launch of Amy, this artificial intelligence. So yeah, without giving the game away too much, that's kind of it's all going to come to a head in that final show. And again, there will be this immersive maze played out throughout the whole city, where all sort of venues and characters across site will be in on it. And as our audience, will be able to sort of go further into that storyline and hopefully be able to affect what happens in that final show.
So how many people got involved in the interactive story last year?
So in the interactive storyline last year, so our finale show was on the communications tower, and it had this giant sort of hack-in. And then that communications tower, we saw visibly get hit with a virus.
Yep.
Now, we estimate that there was about 5,000 people there that would have believed that they were the ones that planted the virus because they had followed the trail.
Yeah.
Then there was about sort of, I'd say about 150 to 200 people when the security system managed to take control again and re-establish the firewall. There was about 150 to 200 people there would have felt like they were the ones that had caused that to happen because they had sabotaged the missions, because along the way we'd created double agents. And so our audience were, without knowing it, were starting to work against each other. So
I take it there's a similar interactive maze this year.
There is, yes, yeah. So we last year was the first time we went into that kind of detail with the maze. We learned a lot from it, and this year we're sort of pushing that a lot further. We managed to get Arts Council money, a grant from them to workshop all of the crews, which has never happened before. So we spent 11 days with sort of each venue and all the characters from every district. We had run a series of workshops, so we've managed to invent quite a lot of detailed gameplay.
Amazing.
And what will happen is, so all of our ticket holders have been invited to sign up to the Amy initiative and download their data, where they download their photo and their email address and their contact numbers. But then they've also ticked a box to say that we can use their details for theatrical purposes.
Right.
All those people that tick that box will then get an email directly from what we call the underground sort of hacker cells that are running through. They get an email from them asking, telling them that the Amy initiative is not as it seems to be, and basically tells them that if they would like to join their mission, to download an app for their phone, and on that app will be their hacker toolkit, which will have like a notepad, a camera, a QR code reader. But most importantly, we'll have a text bot function. And then once they arrive on site, they will start receiving messages from their cell leader, sending them on missions across site.
Okay.
And then that becomes quite detailed. And that will, for those that really want to play, there's at least sort of 3 days of solid gameplay that they can get through, all again then culminating into that final show on Sunday.
Amazing. Well, I'm going to definitely try to get involved in some of that. That sounds absolutely wicked. So,
it's designed so that people can do as much of it as they want to.
Yeah.
You can sort of go and do one mission and feel satisfied and feel like, you've done enough, and then go and sort of party for the rest of the weekend. Or those that are sort of really into that kind of role play kind of theatre style, and they can sort of continue for the whole weekend.
Cool. Musically, like Boomtown is pretty diverse. You've got the kind of bassier side of things, the psytrance side of things. You've also got basically every type of music is there. Musically, does that tie into the storylines, or is that a very kind of separate entity?
Well, to an extent. I mean, it is a separate entity. I mean, what we do is for each district, we design a sort of a flavour for each district, or a theme for each district, and then that district has its own storyline. And then, depending on that kind of story, we try to book music to those districts that kind of fit.
Yeah.
So, when Mayfair was much more kind of like 1920s, then it would be pretty heavy with sort of electro swing. And we do, and there are plenty of artists out there that try to include include what we do within their songs. So Slamboree, for instance, have sort of sampled a lot of our speeches, and you'll hear some of their tracks that are sort of dedicated to the storyline. And then, of course, the final show always ends with a pretty fat drum and bass track, normally created by Block Dodger, which is completely for the show. But then other than that, the two things are sort of similarly are quite separate and just run side by side without a massive amount of crossover. I don't like to sort of enforce it upon the music side of things. But whenever there is an opportunity and an artist is up for collaborating, then I sort of jump on it straight away.
How many actors storytellers, essentially, that's what they are, aren't they, are involved in the festival? I
mean, hard to know exactly, but what's beautiful about it is we've always been full of sort of micro venues and lots of crews across site. What's been really beautiful about the whole process is that everybody has wanted to get involved in the overarching narrative, and everybody wants to add their little bit of detail to it. So it means that, every performer across site is clued into it. So that would mean there'll be like sort of 800 to 1,000 at least performers, I would say, that are across site and involved.
And then just on a kind of infrastructure level, have you started building the festival site yet, or is it?
We have, yeah. So the first, I managed to visit the site this week, and a lot has already gone up and is in place. We're in a good place this year. Luckily, last year we got absolutely brutalised by a month's worth of rain leading up to the festival, which really was a killer. It was really touch and go whether we could open show or not, because of the effect there. But luckily, obviously, we've had nothing but great weather. Yeah. And things are moving along well. It takes sort of 4 to 6 weeks just to get the infrastructure, get the build up. It
is quite a serious just the design of it and everything, the look and the feel of it. It is quite something. So,
man, it's madness. It's crazy to think of like the amount of work just for a 4-day party. But it's pretty ambitious, and for that, it's spectacular.
Yeah, there's a couple of new sites, aren't there? There's a couple of new little areas. Is that correct?
Yeah, we've tried to redevelop. The most impressive thing I think about Boomtown is the fact that it never rests on its laurels, and is forever reinventing itself. So you'll never go to Boomtown and get exactly the same what you had previous year. So there's a few nice things going up. That our most iconic stage, the Lion's Den, is being completely rebuilt this year. So that's going to be an even more impressive build. You've got what was Mayfair Avenue as a district has been completely redesigned and is now Paradise Heights, which is like a whole giant opulent complex, sort of a 5-star resort for kind of 5-star people. Okay. So very similar to the kind of the themes of Mayfair, but just pushed into a new, even more opulent direction. And then what was Chinatown downtown, that's being rebuilt. Not entirely. There'll still be a lot of the old Chinatown set, but that's now been renamed to Metropolis. And we see the corporation, it's kind of like their Silicon Valley, and where their large technological department will live. Yeah. And so we sort of see out of the Chinatown set, there's sort of much bigger sort of high rises coming out of it. And that'll be the kind of home for Bang High Technology. And then Barrio Locos had a whole new massive rebuild this year. So the layout is going to, especially down in the Bowl downtown, is going to feel very, very different this year, which is quite exciting because even people that have been to the festival the whole time, I think are going to, for the whole 10 years, it's going to feel very different for them.
Yeah, I have a lot of mates who have gone year on year and year. So I think if it, as you've just said, I think they're probably going to have a bit of a shock and go, where do we go now? What do we see?
Which is nice because we like to melt people's heads, We like to sort of turn them around and spit them out in different directions. And,
my head was melted even last year, and that was the first time I've ever been. So it's just it was quite something. I've never been to a festival quite like it. So it's pretty nuts. Just finally, 2 more questions for you. Have you got next year's story already lined up? Have you got any kind of, can you see into the future, and do you know what the kind of plans are for the future?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I don't want to give too much away. Yeah. And hopefully the end of, we always sort of end the festival on a cliffhanger. Yeah. And this year will be no different, although we are now that we've sort of wrapped up this 10 years, we are going to sort of move in a completely new direction.
Yep.
You know, we've sort of spent 10 years playing out sort of the goodies and the baddies of the world and kind of general sort of, you know, stories that everyone, you know, who's really in control type stories. You know, I'd like to kind of move away from that now and actually say, you know, we've done this whole sort of debunking society. You know, we're never going to get to the answers. Let's step away from that and altogether like start writing new narratives, and maybe go into sort of slightly more sort of philosophical ideas, really. And hopefully now that we've created a world that people now understand that the narrative isn't just something that happens above them and is told to them, but it's something that they can interactively get involved in. So I think over the coming years, what I would like, and it will take a long while until this is, you know, sort of properly bedded in, but, you know, along the years is that we, you know, depending on the decisions that we make live during the show together and during the gameplay, you know, that will have a much bigger effect on what the outcome of that year's story is. So that we're sort of actively writing it together. So it's more of a sort of a social experiment more so than just a sort of us telling you our ideas. So yeah, like I said, it will be a new direction. We don't ever get too ahead of ourselves, to be honest. Yeah, we've done that in the past where we sort of written the storyline a couple of years, but you know, the goalposts get moved so dramatically. We kind of always need to sort of have the show, see, you know, let the dust settle and say, right, okay, what just happened? You know, how successful was that? What landed? Okay, this is the steer for next year, and move on from there.
Wicked. And as this is a music show, what musically, what are you looking forward to seeing this year?
Well, I mean, annoyingly, I don't get to see that much at the festival, which is
shame.
I think last year I saw sort of Cypress Hill, which was about it. Having said that, I mean, the beauty of Boomtown, hands down, is, you know, I spent the first 3 years that Boomtown was up just solely as a punter. I kind of refused to work there because it was such a good party. But the benefit was never really ever had to look at the lineup. You just knew that wherever you went, you were going to be pulled into something quite special. You know, it's always had its finger on the underground better than any other festival I know. And I mean, this year, I mean, looking at the Barrier Loco lineup, I remember it was looking particularly good. I like things like Entreloop. I pronounce them. That I know they're playing. That's the one that I will really try to catch. I don't know, and it's not normally my cup of tea, but I think I'm going to have to catch Diantwood just to see what it's all about, really. see what their shows like.
Bizarrely, many years ago, I actually plugged their records, and they're a bizarre bunch of people. But yes, I completely agree with you. That's a show that's, it's got to be seen, I think. Yeah,
exactly. And, you know, and again, it's not necessarily something I would listen to, but, you know, and it's very different to anything that we've normally sort of ever played. But, you know, just to see what the Gorillas' actual production, because obviously as a theatre guy, I'm quite interested just to see the production values that the Gorillas really turn up with, because that's going to be a really spectacular show. But if not, like I said, there will be plenty of stuff. And, you know, Captain, our booker, he's just got his fingers on the pulse on such a range of music. If not, I will definitely, if I get time, you'll find me probably in Old Town, sort of dancing away to a bit of sort of gypsy folk and stuff, really.
Cool. Martin, thank you very much for having a chat to us.
Yeah, no worries at all. It's a pleasure, man.
Reactor shutting down. Security alert. Security alert. Security alert. Security alert.
The secrets, deception, the power, struggle, the empires that fell turn to ashes and rubble. The green-eyed vision, the fall and destruction, the ultimate demise of the greed and corruption. The belly of Boomtown is starting to rumble as the walls of the city, they break down and crumble. The queries that you ponder, there are questions you should ask, but what you really should be thinking, who's the mind behind the mask?
Reactor shutting down.
Deception, the power, struggle, the empires that fell turn to ashes and rubble. The green-eyed vision, the fall and destruction, the ultimate demise of the greed and corruption. The belly of Boomtown is starting to rumble as the walls of the city, they break down and crumble. The queries that you ponder, there are questions you should ask, but what you really should be thinking, who's the mind behind the mask?